Hello, everybody. Let's see if I'm going to try and get through this quickly today. I had wanted to, Candace is supposed to get on in about half an hour. Anyway, um, this again goes through, it's a continuation basically of the satanic, all of these satanic groups that have been going on. I mean, it just, the whole Pizzagate, we'll look into that. It boggles the mind, and you go, it's not possible, but yeah, and this is kind of my point. Um, in repeating here again, we're not going to go into great depth. I'm going to, just give some examples, and you've got the links. You can listen to these things. It's horrible, absolutely horrible. Trafficking of children, sacrifices of children, rituals, uh, just, and in what we're supposed to be considered respectable neighborhoods. Um, Now, what we see here is in the, the Midwest. So, this is supposed to be no just Hollywood or New York or DC. It's going on everywhere. So, again, we have this is what Sasha Riley, his testimony came out that he had been involved in horrific crimes involving Trump. Andy Biggs, Congressman Andy Biggs, and Jim Jordan. And these are all the podcasters. I mean, the podcasters, oh gosh, I was listening to some because I am really listening to, well, how they're radicalizing the public, but this has also gotten into little squabbles. And I'm like, gosh, you lordy lord, all you people, all I have to do is, sign up to some club with a bunch of women and go to the country club and listen to this kind of squabbling. It really is incredible. And you stole my content, and you accused me of this, and I didn't do that, and getting other people involved, and you have to stop platforming that person. You have to side with me. Oh, I'm not going to platform. Part of the reason why I'm not getting any recognition from the podcasters is it's this whole little game. I've been playing this with all of the different women's groups, all of the different groups that are supposedly on court reform. It's all a competition popularity contest. So, same can of worms here. Uh, and this is really why things are not getting any farther. So, one of the things, you know, we're seeing in TPUSA, Wolves in Finance, they've gotten a letter uh, from TPUSA to cease and desist, exposing, how the network of all of these nonprofits and how they structure these nonprofits to launder money and to influence peddle in Washington and within the political parties, and within the people who the commercial interests. So through the venture capital, through the entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs, let's see, 70 to 90% of what they do fails. I mean, it's serial. They only want serial entrepreneurs and capital venturists. It's all this, um, these bubbles, techie bubbles that have been constructed, and it has concentrated wealth. I mean, I've been watching that for the past 20 years and trying to find funding for global expats. So, I mean, I know I could give lectures on that again. And this is why we need to dismantle this system. I mean, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene, she screamed at and she got screamed at by Trump. So in my books, come on over to my game. If you don't mind being screamed at by the president and you're like, go F yourself. Um, yeah, we need to. I think this even goes back to the Bible and the early Testament. I think, putting the straws together, the father with the sons, you put the straws together individually, you can break you easily. You put them all together, and you're much more difficult to break. That's what we need. And oh Lord, women, I mean, it's difficult enough with the men. This is why women have been kept out of political arenas and commercial arenas, and they're delegated to the social arenas. Because it's funny, because there's a interview with Jeffrey Epstein, um, and Steve Bannon. It's actually very interesting. Um, and Jeffrey Epstein, there's some interesting, very interesting things that are going into. We're going to touch on it for just slightly here. Again, I said I want to get through this quickly. But stuff that's making sense with Hitler, Hitler's interest in the occult, Hitler's interest in, yeah, it gets into the occult, but it also gets into alien technology. Um, and this is getting into this Tartaria. We'll touch on that a bit later, but there's a lot of questions that this raises. But it was very interesting, his interview with Epstein. Oh, but what I loved about that, where is it? Not here. Oh, it is. Where is it? Okay, here it is. Not even the bankers understand how the banking system works. This is the most interesting thing that I really thought here. And also his interest with the scientists and the Santa Fe. This is the Santa Fe Fund, and why he bought the ranch in Santa Fe. That was an issue that came up with the cattle barons ball and what's going on in Texas and the Santa Fe Ranch, which is next door. So that whole southwest area, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. And so that raised a lot of questions there, because see, that was after, like, well, he says post Cold War. This would be Reagan era Star Wars, the kind of the demise of the government system. And so he steps in, and he said there was a lot of scientists in that area, and that's what interested him in the what was going on, and the void that was left by NASA walking away. And that's why he bought the ranch and became very involved in these scientists. And quite frankly, I agreed with a lot of they had to say. Wasn't a stupid man, or isn't a stupid man. I think I see. I if he was smart, and I think he was. Um, there's a lot of smart people who are bad. um, but he would have had some insurance, that something would come out. But although everything's pretty much coming out now, so who knows? And I mean, Andrew Bustamante, even he's like, this is easy. This is easy. You get them into some prison somewhere, they die, you get them a new identity, you get them out of there. That's like 101 in how we make people, get them into witness protection and make people like disappear. Fake deaths. This is my favorite with Jordan Henshaw. I have to actually know somebody who's faked a death to be able to judge if somebody might have faked a death. I'm like, no, like use your noggin. Anyway, so let's go quickly through this. So the Pizzagate, I mean, okay, again, let's warm up because this is really something that needs to be watched.
Could you imagine a world where the top 1%, the elites of our society, the ruling class, the ones who run the government and are pulling the strings behind everything, are secretly involved in some of the most depraved things that you could ever possibly imagine? I'm getting a feeling of deja vu. I feel like I've heard this story before somewhere. Nowadays, that might not be that hard to believe, but back in 2016, this was something that was unfathomable to most people. How's it going, everyone? Welcome or welcome back. My name is Chase, and today we're talking about Pizzagate. So when Pizzagate started gaining traction during the heated 2016 election cycle on places like Poll, 4chan's political board, it wasn't hard to initially dismiss the whole thing as nothing more than a crazy alt-right conspiracy. But I think it's worth revisiting the theory in modern times, especially in light of recent events. Let me say first and foremost that I have no political bias here, and all I care about is the evidence that has been presented. My goal is not to convince you that Pizzagate is real, nor is it to disprove it. All I'm here to do is present to you the theory as a whole and all the supporting evidence, and then you can come to your own conclusions. I'll also note here that I've spent over a month going down this rabbit hole, and every mainstream source is so quick to say that it's debunked and there's no truth behind it at all, but I haven't seen a single one of them actually debunk any of the evidence. But you should obviously take their word for it because they probably have hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars even, and I'm just a little chud in my room sitting at my computer, so I'm sure they just have more information that I don't and no one else does for some reason. Viewer discretion, of course. We're going to be talking about some dark shit here, so if you don't want to watch that, this is not the video for you. That all said, I hate to say it, but don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. Thank you so much for watching, and let's get right into it. Pizzagate sparked in 2016 when WikiLeaks published over 20,000 emails from the inbox of John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman during her presidential run. Immediately after these leaks were published, people online began scanning these emails line by line, finding many strange references and jokes that sparked suspicion that there was something more going on here. Before we go over some of these emails, it's important to note here that while the interpretations of the coded language within the emails is unsubstantiated, the emails themselves are completely legitimate. The Podesta emails were reviewed and confirmed to be authentic by multiple U.S. intelligence agencies, including the CIA, FBI, and the NSA, which is the National Security Agency. So while the interpretations of these emails can be debated, nobody is disputing the authenticity of the emails themselves. Of course, I can't talk about all 20,000 emails here, and most of them are mundane and irrelevant to what we're here to talk about today, but here are a few of the most notable ones that helped fuel the initial theory. One of the first emails that really caught people's attention was sent by Susan Sandler, a philanthropist and political donor who did donate to Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign run, to John Podesta. The email reads, "Hi John, the realtor found a handkerchief. I think it has a map that seems pizza related. Is it your ruse? They can send it if you want. I know you're busy, so feel free not to respond if it's not yours or you don't want it. I just came from checking the field house and I have a square cloth handkerchief, white with black, that was left on the kitchen island. Happy to send it via mail if you let me know where I should send it." It's not hard to see why this would catch people off guard. What is a map that seems pizza related on a handkerchief? What the fuck does that even mean? Well, coincidentally, the handkerchief code is a color-coded system that people use to communicate their interests and pleasures non-verbally. Different colors relate to different acts or things that people are into, and I will not elaborate farther on that. If it's that important to you, you can look that up on your own time. These people are like old boomers, so maybe they just communicate differently and have some dementia going on. But again, what is a pizza-related map? What even is that?
Boomers.
Another email that caught people's attention was sent to John Podesta by Herbert Sandler, who was at the time a co-CEO of Golden West Financial Corporation, a major political donor to the Clinton campaign. Now Herbert Sandler is burning in hell. I'm joking. Rest in peace, Herbert Sandler. I'm sure he did nothing wrong at all. Mary and John, I think you should give notice when changing strategies which have been long in place. I immediately realized something was different by the shape of the box, and I contemplated who would be sending me something in the square-shaped box. Lo and behold, instead of pasta and wonderful sauces, it was a lovely, tempting assortment of cheeses. Yummy. I'm awaiting the return of my children and grandchildren from their holiday travels so that we can demolish them. Thank you so much. I hope you and your gang are well. I miss you both. Best wishes. Fro a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Herb. P.S. Do you think I'll do better playing dominoes on cheese than pasta? The thing that stood out as weird to people is that last line. It's just worded in such a strange way. People don't typically refer to eating something as being on something. People online began theorizing that cheese and pasta and these terms used for food were actually code word for something else. That something else being kids. And I know that's quite the leap in logic to make, but it's not the only example of strange references to food in these emails. Like this email sent from Tony Podesta, John Podesta's brother, would love to get a pizza for an hour. Like again, what does that mean? If we're just talking about lunch, that is not a normal way to say that. Imagine your friend gets a hold hold of you and they say, hey dude, you want to go get a pizza for about an hour? Like what? What does that mean? This one is in a long chain of emails, so I'll spare you from me reading the entire thing, but the part that stood out to people here was, Bonnie will be Uber service to transport Ruby, Emerson, and Maeve Lozado, 11, 9, and almost 7, so you'll have some further entertainment, and they will be in that pool for sure. Excuse me? What? That obviously sounds really bad. And unfortunately, there's no context that makes it sound any better. And it just gets weirder because there's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down with this woman. Reportedly, Lozado ran a website known as Evie's Crib, which was kind of like a blog. It's hard to confirm because as soon as people started talking about this, it was removed almost immediately. But if this blog is real, it looks really bad. The website apparently featured many pictures of Lozado around young children, including her step-granddaughter, Evie. The header of the website reads, Evelyn is growing up. Soon she will be the queen of the entire US of A. Right now, for a limited time only, you can spend some time with her online, raw and uncut. Take advantage of this now, as in the future she will have the power of life and death over you. First of all, why are people spending time online with your granddaughter at all? And then raw and uncut, that is just a really weird way to describe that. Whoever was running this website categorized these posts with labels so you can find exactly what you're looking for easily. Posts were labeled under categories such as psychopath, evil white bitch, filth, malpractice, discomfort, manipulation, and Ambien. Sorry. Ambien, for those who don't know, is a prescription drug that is classified as a hypnotic and is used to treat insomnia short term. One of the side effects of Ambien is that it wipes your memory. Many people have no recollection of anything else that occurred or what they did after dosing. Why would that be a category on this blog that she apparently uses to post pictures of her children and grandchildren? That's really anyone's best guess. Another picture on this blog shows a baby after bath time, and while not inherently sinister, it's definitely a little bit weird even though you can't see anything. But the caption here is what really stands out. It ends with, unrated version of this photo available only to premium subscribers. At the absolute best, if this website is real, which again I can't confirm, this is an incredibly weird and tasteless...
Okay, as I said, I wanted to get through this quickly. It does repeat. He really does a very good job. I encourage people to, watch that. Again, you got the link there. Here are these people that he names: Marina Abramovich, Edgar Welch, this New Life Children's refugee case. It just, the issue is with this Arabella Advisors, why I have this in here, is that Arabella Advisors, they started, doesn't have exactly when they started here, but they started, I think, around definitely before 2016, definitely. But they have been, one of the dark money arms of the Democrats and the Clintons. So they have, the dark money politics. The network has spent over $1.2 billion in 2020 alone, much of it directed at efforts to oppose Republican policies and candidates. Now, see, this, the quantity of money that's being thrown around. So a bunch of college co-eds, snot-nosed brat little girls can run around and little boys can chase tail and waste all of this money on who's going to win, the Republicans or the Democrats. It is obscene. These people produce absolutely nothing but more and more here. More and more. I think I'm at the right place. Yeah. Extremism. And this gets into the 2021 report, Biden report, that, defines the different categories of what an extremist is. And when I looked at this, I said it applies to you all of you. So, this is, as I say, goes beyond just, go after this one, go after that one. We have to dismantle the entire system, go after them all. This is all that there is. They keep, like with TPUSA, well, it's not illegal. No, the academic literature of the international development community is filled with explanations of, yeah, like, okay, it's not tax evasion, it's tax avoidance, and you get the people into power, you buy the politicians, you get the laws, so you can, make something that should be illegal just amoral. It's like the ethics advisor over at the IMF, Olivia Graham, who said to me, well, this is illegal, but it's not immoral. I mean, my entire life I've heard it's amoral but not illegal. But that was the first, I mean, that was a real doozy. Unfortunately, she's passed away, so I won't be able to see her in court, at least in this life. Maybe when we all get to hell, see hell behind me. That's where we're all headed down there. Oh Lord. I mean, we don't get our shit together. Homo sapiens and the human race on this planet, that's where we're all going to end up. Because, it's not just the people who are doing the bad things. The international development community also talks about omission of action. So, as again, I said, I want to get through this quickly today. So, here you got, see, back in 1988, American Girls in Paris, they're going to be models. I mean, that was when I went to, okay, it was 1880, at the end of 88, same can of worms. 88, 89, but I went as an au pair, but, I wasn't looking for fame and fortune or I was running away from, let's see, first, Capitol Hill, I was disillusioned there. All the cocaine snorting. I mean, just all the party hardy, um, uh, I always tell people, see the movie St. Elmo's Fire. And that was Demi Moore is in that, Rob Lowe is in that. It's this coming of age in Washington in the 1980s. And I mean, that's kind of what these were, girls from the Midwest. I mean, as much as they could have gone to Paris, they could have gone to New York or gone to DC. DC wasn't quite as bad. It was still considered provincial compared to New York. But now it's just as much. That's cool. But see, Diane Sawyer, oh, big wig champion feminist, women's rights bullshit. This has been going on forever, and all you little ladies, all you women journalists, whether it be Diane Sawyer, Carol Joint, she's in there, Barbara Wawa, The View, what's her face, Megan McCain, oh, that little girl. Look at the Arizona. We'll go back to Andy Biggs. Andy Biggs here of Arizona and TPUSA. It was, I mean, I think, it was Erica who wanted to bring Charlie Kirk down to Tucson. Now, in controlling somebody, honeypot control, whatever, controlling somebody, 101 is to alienate that person, bring that person into your territory, your family. I mean, my ex-husband did this. I mean, okay, I went willingly. In fact, this was one of the things that I really liked about the Spaniards, because even though it's totally, I mean, I don't like to say his name anywhere. Anybody wants to find it, it's easy. But so anyway, totally Spanish name, but he's French as well and grew up in Morocco and France. So Pied Noir, but there still was his Spanish family. Everybody in the family, even if they lived in France, were still the Spanish family with the cousins and we would go up and down France and Spain and have to go and visit the cousin. And I mean, I'm sure if I had been Spanish, some Spanish girl from a pueblo, I would have been like, oh God, no, like not have liked that at all. But I was coming from a totally different, what these Spanish women have aspired to for the past 40, 50 years of the modern woman and stuff. And I was fleeing that. So, for me, it wasn't, everybody saw it as me getting into, how shall I say it, this trad wife and well, no. It's all an adventure. God, my mother in Spain, I'm asking her, will you please ask John McCain to pick up the phone and call the American consulate in Madrid and tell them to do their job? And she's like, oh, well, you always asked when you were a child and you always wanted an adventure. And I just looked at her and I was like, I bit my tongue on you little bitch. Um, I bit my tongue, but I just was like, this was not what I had in mind. I have seen my mother, and I had seen my mother done some pretty cold and ruthless things in my life. But Amnesty International predicted that I had 0.25% chance of survival. So, that was real cold. So anyway, we're going to go into this real quick.
Megan, are you covering this story? Well, let's take a look and see if you're any different than the rest. What do we got? Anti-ICE riots, illegal immigrants, Don Lemon, Don Lemon, Don Lemon, illegal immigrants, Don Lemon, Don Lemon, Don Lemon. So no, yet another MAGA influencer who...
See, this is the thing. Nate and I share this, I think, the same reason of Megyn Kelly, but I'm sure Nate thinks I'm just another Megyn Kelly because I represent, the dumb blonde suburbia who's going to always just be a Trump loyalist. But that's, Megyn is my archenemy. See,
who hasn't done or said a single word about the new files release. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. In fact, what really makes me angry with Megyn Kelly is, she's removing the due process of Tyler Robinson and calling for the death penalty. That's murder.
This week, yes, Big E, as we'll call him to help work around the algorithm here, and the files. And we've had a lot of new wild additions to the stories this week, from things like Elon Musk begging to go to the island and Jay-Z being implicated for disgusting, horrific crimes with Harvey Weinstein, so much so that he has now fled the country, supposedly, and deleted his Instagram. Wow. Absolutely insane story. And you would think...
Oh, gosh. What's going on there?
Megan, are you covering this story? Well, let's take a look and see if you're any different than the rest.
Okay.
To help work around the algorithm here, and the files. And we've had a...
is this not gonna cooperate? I don't know what.
Yeah, and Fox News for... Megan, are you covering this story? Well, let's take a look and see if you're any different than...
Okay, so we're gonna drop that. Maybe, I don't know if it's gonna... Let's see. Okay, so I'll get through it even faster. So that, this I agree with him. Where are all of you people, you conservative podcasters, with all of this stuff? As I say, here, y'all, the 1980s, the Franklin case, This was 1987. This Presido Child Care Center, it was a part of an army base. This Jordan cover-up, this was a pedophile party house in some respectable neighborhood. I think this was near the Twin Cities, near the Twin Cities. So, you know, as I say, this was very interesting. The Steve Bannon interview with Jeffrey Epstein, but I would say the most interesting thing to take from that was listen to his explanation about the banking system, and this is around the 2008 collapse, and how nobody dealt with that and just kept on. Here's the Big Short inside the doomsday machine. I always tell people to look at that. Now, what's really, really interesting about this Tartarian system terrified banks and then vanished. What's true is I always remember in school, I was like, yeah, they always talk about Western civilization in history. We studied Western civilization. You read a book about the Genghis Khan, and I think a little bit about peasants in China. We read something, but it really, nothing. It was all Western history in the past 4,000 years since the Sumerians. So, I have to say, yeah, I'm totally ignorant. So, and if you look at the maps, you go back before the 17th century, 1700s, you have this Tartarian empire that spread throughout into China, and it was the north, it was Russia, and it was huge, enormous. And the problem that I have with all of these presentations that they're doing about the Tartarian system, and they're talking about the mudslides and the giants, and they bring in all of these photos. There's no archaeological digs or anything. It's just these stories, and with these old photos that could easily have been doctored. So I think there's some evidence problem with this. But what was really interesting with this, which is not to say that all of these things are useless to listen to, because there's some interesting information and perspective. But and I definitely believe in all of the giants. I mean, we've got testimonies and evidence of that all over the place. So what was interesting was about this was that there was free energy. Okay, so, but then this is also where there was a conflicting thing about the Tartarian Empire, and then they had to dig for oil, because with the Ukraine, particularly in the Ukrainian area, if you're not digging for oil, the oil's coming up itself. That's in fact what caused the mudslides. So as I said, there's some conflicting information, and really not much archaeological evidence. So it's just hypotheses and speculation at that point. But again, I digress. What they were saying about the Tartarian system was that it was based on these what do they call them? The word is escaping my sorry about this, but it was these groups. Masonic. It was M. I couldn't come with it. So these Masonic groups and these Masonic lodges, and this is one thing that I've always said to people about, their problems with the Masonic lodges, and they're involved with these cults. And this got mixed up because the Masonic lodges started out under feudalism, as guilds for artisans. So that's corresponds again here that they had this guild system, and they didn't exchange money between themselves. And this also, with this system, you're looking at a urban center, and because in the like farm areas and agriculture areas, you'd probably have more of the barter system, but it also doesn't mean that there would be no sort of banking system. However, but within the gilded system, you had like a coin, and you didn't pay for things. You just were like, no, I'm an artisan, so yeah, I get to go and get what I need. Um, so how that was kept track of, it's not quite, but it's not really explained in detail. Again, I'm like, okay, well, where's your forensic evidence, the archaeological evidence of how this is the system? Although there is some evidence definitely of this in the medieval period in Europe. Again, as I say, they're kind of trying to turn this thing into some mystical stuff where they're mixing apples and oranges, I believe. Um, but but what is kind of funny about this is this gets into Karl Marx and the theories of Karl Marx, Adam Smith, Bernard Mandeville, and kind of a cross section if you bring them together, and capitalism versus communism versus managerialism. But it's just, this is interesting as an explanation of why the banking system at present and those who are profiting from it, the central banks, and all of the big wig, either the heads of the banks or the hedge fund people, the people who are making all of the money off of that system, um, at the top, because everybody else is paying the price. I mean, your lower traders, I'm like, you guys are like guinea pigs running around in a, one of those treadmills. And you just wear yourself out, destroy yourselves and your families like Max did. So, yeah, it's a little personal there. So anyway, that is very interesting to listen to that. Now, oh gosh. So as I say, I want to go through this quick. um, Now these this I included in here because this gets into, again, I didn't even listen to these in the entirety. This is a new guy I came across. He's right here, breaking down the Candace Owens story. But I mean, lordy lord, these little ladies, I mean, they should go on the board of some expat wives club. It just, if Gary Melton, and now he's got this friend of his, I forget this guy's name, all they do is try and bash the other person instead of focus on like the issue at hand. Okay, fine. You believe in the single bullet theory. Well, prove it. You believe that Tyler Robinson was radicalized by some group. So is this the military and the CIA? Because this guy is military. So if you think he was radicalized by some group, well, who was it? Was it some left-wing group like was what the narrative was supposed to be from the beginning? And Candace and all of these podcasters who haven't let this move on, and everybody just drank the Kool-Aid that Tyler Robinson was radicalized online on discourse or whatever the platform was, radicalized by these subversive groups within the Democratic Party. Okay, we'll follow the money. follow the groups. Go down that rabbit hole. Do investigation like Candace Owens is doing on her side. Instead of just screaming and yelling and going, I don't like Candace. What is she doing? She's not doing like I want her to do. Buck it up, buddy, and go and do the investigation yourself. That's what you believe the problem is. You think it is, as I say, either the Democrats or liberal groups, whatever. Put out, say, please, anybody in these groups, contact me. Give me emails. Let's find out. Let's root out these people in these groups. Why aren't you doing that? Instead, all you do is go, Candace Owens, she's a witch. She's a witch. Oh, this is another one that was really interesting that I included in here again. I'll let you listen to that. I'm exhausted with everybody. I really am. It repeats. All of this stuff has been going on for so long. I keep on, saying, how many times are we going to do this? How many times are we going to do this again and again and again and again? And here we've got, as I say, this is the ecosystem of how both the Democrats and the Republicans are maintaining this warmongering world, Mandevillian world of, prostitutes, drug addicts, drug pushers, weapons producers, soldiers. That produces an economy. Or we keep on passing, whether it's gold or, dollars that you manufacture out of thin air. See, I mean, God, these bubble and bust economies have been going on since the tulips of the 1400s. You guys never learn, do you? This is, again, I totally, Trigger Smart and Jesse, they're on it. America's quiet war, civil unrest and division in the United States. I agree. Let's do something about it. And in the meantime, we have on the other side of the Atlantic, well, I don't know where, I guess, let's see. Jesse is in Texas. I'm not sure where Trigger Smart is. But in Hollywood, we can never forget what's going on in Hollywood. We've got Hagen and Mary, Meghan and Harry, who are self-destructing as usual. But this is the thing. I mean, Cher Denise, I don't know. I think she's like, I'm taking the high road with everybody amongst the podcasters, and I'm not going to even discuss Candace Owens. Oh, she really does not like Candace Owens. Not sure what her thoughts are on Megyn Kelly. But yeah, she's got this thing for Candace Owens. Lots of jealousy. But and then here, this was an interesting story I came across of how this was a general. This is back in the crash of 29. And we're just going to get a general to step in and take over the country. And it would have worked if the general had gone along with it. And here, the Marburg files. That is how the Duke of Windsor was conspiring with Hitler to go back and be king of England if the Germans were successful and invading the UK. And I mean, Wallace Simpson had a lot to do with that. Okay, so again, real quick, I've been looking, and actually this, people, if anybody is interested, you're more than welcome. That one here. Oh, actually, it should be here. Bill Montgomery. So I'm still there. So what's interesting, so this is Bill Montgomery, the guy who helped Charlie Kirk start the TPUSA. From what I can tell is Bill Montgomery was uh, I don't think I really don't think he was involved in any of the satanic stuff. This comes in later when you get the Erica Kirk and the Ben Shapiro and that all of that. This I think comes in later, and I think this is also why Bill Montgomery is not more active in he is at the very beginning, but then he becomes less active in the organization. So their timeline, I'm not positive of everything, but he says 12,000 excuse me 2012 he co-founded the TPUSA. He died in 2020. And listening to Charlie in the at his memorial that TPUSA did, it sounded like he really was less active as the years went on. But always Charlie had a soft, very amicable relationship, I think he had with Bill Montgomery. Anyway, let's see, with him, we also, what I found on him, so he worked in various fields, including marketing, publishing, restaurants. Basically, this is what a socialite does. And so, again, this is where it's getting into managerialism and the traditional movement from an agrarian feudal society to an industrial society. And this is the jobs that the lords and the ladies of manors would do in traditional feudal societies. So he did serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve. So there's also the question, how much, there's a lot of indoctrination going on with those people there. So that makes different connections. We see that all over the place, with the Fort Huachuca and Eric Kirk. So, this where, because all of the branches of the military have, as the country was started, and even this gets into European history, have been used as social climbing tools. You conquered foreign lands and you got money for your king and he knighted you. So they've just changed how it works, but it's basically the same, same objective there. Okay, so they said he was a serial entrepreneur. Well, as I say, all of these serial entrepreneurs, I'm like, yeah, you keep on business building, bankruptcy building businessmen, just like Donald Trump, and everybody gives you an award. Pat you on the back when they should give you a swift kick in the butt. Okay, marketing. Yeah, I keep on explaining to people marketing. My marketing 101 class at GW in the 1980s. It's about identifying your market and fulfilling their needs. I guess in a way you could say that's what he did, because we did need a conservative movement that was not based, was not a religious based one. And pretty much with Bill Montgomery, that's what it looks like. And this is also probably why Bill Montgomery became less influential as, Charlie became more involved with the religious aspects of it. So because he did like where is it? What was it called? Their restaurant, the Strand Cafe, was a historical landmark in downtown Lamont, Illinois. known for its eclectic Cajun and American cuisine and its role as a local news hub. So, I mean, that's more of something that you're going to find amongst liberals rather than, it doesn't say anything to do with, I mean, his wife was involved with the church. We'll look back at his wife. Now, this was another interesting thing that I found with Bill Montgomery. So they were married in 1983. So she's like 40 years old. So they didn't have any kids together. I mean, unless she was really old when they had a child, because I'm not finding. This is where we'll get into here. We'll go into their ancestry. The anybody is more than welcome to go in, and you got the link there, and you can see. Okay, so we've got Bill Montgomery. Seeing it there. Always double check that I'm there. Okay, so you got Bill Montgomery and Edith. So she's, I guess I don't have her because she was born 1940 as well. So I'll have to put in there. But she was born 1940. He was born 1940. So they got married in 1982. So here in her profile, I think I have all of that. So she was an immigrant, nurse, entrepreneur, mother, and grandmother. A lot of things. Not your trad wife. Because, okay, she's preceded in death by her parents, husband, and sister. It's another thing. They didn't mention, like in her obit and Bill Montgomery obit, they didn't really mention any names. I really had to go searching to find, all of the different names I found in the family. So, by her parents, and so she had a sister. That they were born in Germany and they were brought in through the Catholic Church. So, I'm not sure. That doesn't mean that they weren't Jewish, because the Catholic Church was involved in that. But so her parents and sister rode cattle cars through Europe to board a ship bound for America. Apparently they had been in the Alps. So what they were doing in the Alps, because the concentration camps weren't in the Alps. So that I was like, well, what was that? Okay, so board a ship, could carry by hand or pack in a single shipping trunk. Yeah, well, that's usually the case. That's how I got back to the States. They lived a short while in South Carolina. So I looked into, the immigration stuff that was going on. There was apparently people that went to these centers in Carolina, but then I guess they were relocated to Illinois. They had to have the sponsor families. So, probably either somebody from their extended family or communities, they had come. I forget, I have that in here. Let's see. We'll go back where her parents were born, because I did find that. Okay, so again, Eddie worked hard all of her life, including battling but conquering numerous health crises and natural disasters. So I don't know what the health crises, I mean, natural disasters. If you call war a natural disaster. She was sick as a child in Europe, and so she moved by the care she received by nuns in the Alps, that she vowed to become a nurse as an adult. So I'm not really sure why, what she was doing there, why she was sick, what happened. She married and welcomed the birth of 2 daughters. After a divorce, as a single mother, So, I mean, also, if she remembers, trying to see, hold on, because the the ships that they came in, let's see, the first one, this is you're looking at 48. If she was married in, she was born in 40, so she's like 8 years old when she's coming to the United States, it looks like. So she definitely married and here in the United States. I couldn't find who the father was. This would have been the Walker name. I do know that because her parents have a different last name. So she marries this Walker guy, has two daughters, and has a divorce. Doesn't say when. She becomes a single mother and works 2 or 3 jobs simultaneously to put herself through nursing school as planned. Okay. Um, I mean, going to nursing school, being a single mother, and holding down 2 or 3 jobs. I mean, either she didn't sleep or she may have lived at home with her parents who were taking care of the children and helping her out. Because otherwise, what, she's leaving her kids all day long by themselves? I don't know. So, you know, she's married in 1940. So I estimated, let's go back. So, but let's finish this first. So I estimated, let's say she's 20 years old or so when she's having her kids. So that's 1960. Then, so she's getting married in 83. See, this is what I'm saying. Even if she had the kids a little bit later than the 60s, or got pregnant when she was in her teens, is perhaps also. Um, so in 83, she marries her soulmate, Bill Montgomery. And okay, so they stay devoted partners for nearly 40 years, although he's on the road a lot. But however, it looks like by the time they get married, their children, would have been more or less adults, or at least in their, teens. Um, so always working as a nurse. She also worked in the Cajun restaurant, as did her mother. Her mother worked in the Cajun restaurant. Traveled the States with Bill and her daughter's family. So this gets into, again, the daughter that does that is the Walker. So this is kind of how I put together these. So then what I kind of noted here. So after he died, she was an adolescent psychiatrist nurse. Okay, anybody who's involved in psychiatry with the adolescents in the past 40, 50 years concerns me. Yeah, sorry. Okay, she moved in with her daughter. Most of them are crazy. This is why I'm also, so after he dies in 2020, she moves in with her daughter, family in Illinois. So she's, tells her about her life there, and she's playing cards and Scrabble and all of that stuff. But then she goes in early 2023, she goes and relocates to live with family in Tennessee. So that would be the other daughter. So, either, what happens is, sorry, my throat. For some reason, either the first daughter in Illinois is like, look, I've had enough of her and it's your turn. You're going to have to take her for a while. And she sends her mom down. Or, whatever situation, maybe the mom got sick or something, and the other daughter who lives in Tennessee was better able to take care of her. Both, you can't just jump to the conclusion that, the thing is, this came up with my mother's death. And her memorial service and the obituary. I mean, you're not gonna trash these people. That's not the time and the place. But what's strange is it was very difficult finding information on these two. Their obituaries, nobody's name is mentioned. Like survived by daughters, normally everywhere else you find the names. But when you don't find the names of survived by, I mean, this is really kind of the point of the obituaries, and also where ancestry.com, ancestry.com, this is, they've been doing blood testing and stuff and that's for a reason. This gets into the Nazi Hitler stuff and the blood. It's all starting to make sense. Dots are connecting. They're smart. They don't have any of my blood, but they got my family tree with Dickinson and all of that. Do with it as they may. I mean, screw you guys. So I got nothing to hide. So anyway, so what is interesting here is what I could find. Now, Bill Montgomery, he did have a sister. Not sure what the sister's name is. Now, so he had to have a first wife. Of course, if he had two children. Now, the one son is named Thomas. The other is Kristen or Christian. I'm pretty sure that's female. And because there's this Michelle, but then Michelle, I'm pretty sure, is a Walker. Because so this Brad Sargent, he spoke at the TPUSA memorial service, and this is the son and Bill's son-in-law. So they could have, technically it's his step-son-in-law, the son. I don't even know what you call that, step-son-in-law, I guess. So, but maybe they just weren't going to say stepson-in-law and said son-in-law, and he would refer to him that, because technically that would just be if he was married over here to Christian or Kristen. Now, it looks like, so this is, as I say, this I got into Bill Montgomery's family going back. This gets into a lot of their cousins. I have, if anybody's interested, and that, you can, it goes into, you can find all sorts of different people, and, in his family tree that I was able to find. Just because families tend to have connections. As I say, Bill Montgomery, I don't think I haven't found anything, connecting him to any of this ritual stuff and satanic stuff. So that's, don't go there, people, because that's not what this is about. So with her, so there's this Richard, this would be her father, Edie's father. They married in Germany in 1939, and they had two children. I think it was two children before they came to the States. Yeah, because they came after. Now, what's interesting here is, and this is not directly related to, not directly, but it is the same family. Now, this was a very interesting thing because, again, this is, here's the Robert, is the one that I wanted. So this is Robert Zajong, if that's how you pronounce it. He was Polish. So this guy, they came from Germany, but, and she was born in Germany as well. But this does sound more like a Slavic name than a German name. So, and a lot of the Slavs were the Jews that had gone to Germany. Um, this was a big problem because the Jews were like chased all over the place. And so they were constantly being moved, well, we want you or we don't want you. We wanted you, now we no longer want you, so go away. So, a lot of the problems just are historical stuff with the Jews there. And it wasn't something that just was special to Hitler. So he was a Polish social psychologist who is known for his decades of work on the wide range of social and cognitive processes. Social psychology is anyway. So anyway, he was definitely involved in all of this psychobabble stuff that's been going on. Before the German invasion of Poland, his family fled to Warsaw. During their short stay, the building was hit by an air raid. And then he was sent to a German labor camp. They escaped the work camp and got recaptured, sent to France. And then he was with the French resistance. He moved to England. So see, again, he went to England. This is not the same, not of the same family tree, but not just interesting. I was like, oh, who is this? So anyway, again, she's from Germany. They came in from Germany. This kind of brings us, the group of Germans and people that came in, because with those people, you had the refugees fleeing, like this family. I don't know if they were Jewish or Christian, because she said that she was in the Alps. With nuns. So maybe also because you did have also some of the families who like sent some of their children to the Alps to live with nuns, because and the parents went into hiding or something, but at least their kids were safe. That was also something that was done. So that, again, there's no information there, which is kind of surprising. So who was her first husband? Again, no information about her husband, who would have been named Walker, because again, her father's name was Zajong, so that would have been her maiden name. So, and I found this something, Ashuf Walker. So maybe that was because I was like, well, what does Ashuf mean, wife of? Because sometimes in different languages, I couldn't find that. That didn't seem, so maybe that was her husband's name. I really couldn't find any information there. But they had several children. They had Michelle. I thought they had 3. Oh no, they just had the Mary and Michelle. So they had 2 daughters. Yeah, so this was another thing that was kind of unclear, because in Bill's, here, let's go back to there. Okay, so Bill Montgomery, he was survived by his wife, Eddie, his son. It was difficult finding the son, the name Thomas, daughter, so that his daughter would be the Kristen or Christian, stepdaughter, that would be this Michelle Walker Sargent, son-in-law, Brad Sargent, and 2 great-grandchildren. However, there's no mention of another stepdaughter, which would be Mary. because he had two stepdaughters. Because over here, this is 2020, because over here, Edith, she is survived by her two daughters and son-in-law. It only mentions one son-in-law. Oops. Oh no, sons-in-law. Oh, it does mention two sons-in-law. Okay, 8 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. So I was able that. But see, this is where I was like, what? And here he has 2 grandchildren. So this is where it only mentioned one stepdaughter. I was like, well, why? Oops. Why has my screen been paused? Huh. Okay. I'm not sure. It said paused. I'm not sure what it paused it. So she has 2 daughters. Here's their children. Now, I couldn't find anything about a wife for Thomas Montgomery. I mean, Montgomery is kind of a common name. This Kristen Montgomery as well. I did find this Dominique Bandera, his mother. So that was, but so through her daughter, she had these grandchildren, Gianni Bandera, Luca Bandera, and Eddie Bandera Yeltsin, who was married to this Tara Yeltsin. I just saw a divorce thing for them. So it looks like they're divorced. Now, for the grandchildren, I couldn't, unless they're not the grandchildren. And normally when the grandchildren are just babies, they don't name them, which for obvious reasons. But anyway, so here, oh yeah, we got the great-grandchildren. Yeah, so here through the Michelle Walker Sargent, now this Brad Sargent, he apparently, and this perhaps Michelle Walker is the one who would accompany Bill Montgomery across, driving across the country, and Brad Sargent, it looks like they might have, been involved somehow in TPUSA at the beginning. Now, is this Sargent, Brad Sargent, part of the Sargent family of let's see, that's the Kennedys and the Sargent family. I'm not thinking of the name, but there is a Sargent family married to a Kennedy, and that gets into the Shriver family as well. I'm forgetting the links there. One of the Shrivers went to Foxcroft School. None of the Sargent family, though. So anyway, let's see. This is just what I was able to find on the family. It just seems very, it just, when it's like secretive like that, what are they hiding? See this Brad Sargent. Yeah, I don't have his family. Here, this was the Bandera. So this, yeah, his mother, I found his mother and able to find, yeah, see, this is where it got into his siblings and going through. So anyway, if anybody's interested in that, just as I say, there doesn't seem to be anything. You would have to go into what are the families involved in, who are these, that's the whole point of doing these, because I have a lot of We're still there, yeah. If we go back into my trees, anybody is more than welcome. You want to help me? Be more than okay. My trees. Yeah, so I have the Dickinson family. That includes my family. Some of these I just started. The Astors, the Boggs. That's the Boggs family of well, originally Mississippi, Louisiana, but Congressman Boggs family, the Bush family tree, Cattle Baron Ball, still just starting on that. The Wilcox family, Jenny Jerome, the Churchills. So you see the DuPont family. I've started that. That's if anybody in Candace Owens camp wants to help with that, if everybody would start working together, we'd get a lot farther. Okay, so, oops. Still don't know why sometimes these things pop up. So anyway, that's again the these are just some people I found in relation to them. So this was the Displaced Persons Act of 1948. Just kind of some notes in there. What was interesting here was initially the act excluded refugees who entered camps after December 22nd, 1945, which disproportionately affected Jewish survivors. So this wasn't started to help the Jews. Okay, so, and I mean, here's all of these foreign model and honeypots in the USA that still need to, you want to get a full picture of what's going on here with all of the radicals who are stirring the pot. And, because it's not ideology. People will, say whatever you want them to say as long as you give them money. And it doesn't have to, here, I'll give you money. It's like, oh, you podcasters, you want the algorithms to like you? Well, this is what you better say. If you're a mainstream journalist, you want your boss to like you and you want a $10 million contract, this is what you got to say. So, it's not necessarily, here, I'll give you, if you give you this money, say this. A little bit more tact in there than that, but it comes out to the same thing. So anyway, that's pretty much it for today. I do encourage people to actually listen to these different links. I mean, I listened to all of these things, but I am going through the internet and trying to, one of the few people who actually listen to, she's a security guard at International Square where I'm working in DC. She said, well, they're informative. I'm like, well, yeah, it is meant to inform, but it's also meant to mobilize, because, just sitting here wasting my life away, wishing that I could be with my sons. That's the only thing I care about in this world. And informing people who couldn't give a shit about anything except going shopping. I mean, I'm wasting my time. Wasting my time. I mean, all I can do is please God, you got other things going on there, and that someday, this will all break and people will start listening and wake up and smell the coffee before it's too late. And we end up in Armageddon.